Welcome to the first ever Facebook Live from the Nansen Refugee Award in Geneva, Switzerland. It's incredibly exciting to be with you tonight from Geneva to recognize and to celebrate exceptional humanitarian service and assistance towards refugees, internally displaced people and stateless people. The Nansen Award is a special award that is given out by the UN Refugee Agency known as UNHCR, which, as I say, goes towards recognizing individuals and organizations who have shown exceptional service, humanitarian service to assisting and finding lasting solutions for people who have been forced to flee their homes because of war, because of violence, because of persecution. Now, let me go into the history, the background of this award and why we call it the Nansen Award. It's called the Nansen Award because the first UN High Commissioner for Refugees, Fridtjof Nansen, was from Norway, and he established this award, and he basically advocated for people to take more responsibility, shared responsibility globally for resolving major problems and crises around the world. And one of those obviously was looking at the whole situation facing refugees, those forced to leave their homes, those displaced by violence. And he worked incredibly hard to find solutions during his time to bring solutions to people displaced. Now, the Nansen Award is in its sixth decade. So tonight is the 63rd time that the UN Refugee Agency is handing over the Nansen Award. And tonight we are focusing on a humanitarian conflict and crisis that has displaced, well, millions of people. The story starts in northeast Nigeria, which has been affected by Boko Haram for the last 10 years or so. Boko Haram is a terrorist organization and rebel group that have preached Western education is wrong and caused mayhem and destruction in northern Nigeria and across the region, really, the Lake Chad region and the neighboring countries in northern Nigeria. And as a consequence of the violence that's been meted out on people, on institutions, on the authorities, we have seen more than 2 million people displaced in the region. There's an estimate of around 20,000 people that have been killed in Boko Haram violence over the last few years. That's what Amnesty International say. And of course, as I explained, many children, as a result of the violence, have lost the opportunity to get an education, to go to school. It's estimated that more than 5,000 classrooms have been destroyed and schools destroyed in the midst and during the Boko Haram insurgency. And that now brings us closer to talking about the Nansen Award winner tonight, because he has done some incredible work in relation to assisting those individuals, children in this case, affected by the Boko Haram crisis. The 2017 winner of the Nansen Award is Zanna Mustapha. Zanna Mustapha from northeast Nigeria, from Borno State, from Maiduguri, which has been at the epicenter of the Boko Haram violence, has dedicated his life and made so many sacrifices to try and bring solutions to those communities affected. And he has focused very strongly on access to education. Zanna Mustapha basically started a school, the Future Prowess Foundation Islamic School, in northern Nigeria during the midst of the Boko Haram crisis, when it was almost impossible for children to go to school. As a result of his hard work and dedication, he has almost single-handedly been able to educate and been able to support over 2,000 individuals. There are currently 2 schools that are being managed by Zanna Mustapha and led by Zanna Mustapha, where more than 1,000 children are receiving not just an education, but meals and other essentials that they may need. And it's because of that hard work and dedication that Zanna Mustapha was chosen by the UN Refugee Agency as the winner of the Nansen Refugee Award. It's an incredible opportunity to really shine the spotlight for Facebook audiences on this humanitarian crisis that has affected so many people. Now, some comments are coming in already on social media from you, and we've basically been asking our Facebook users to get in touch with us with questions and comments they may have this evening, not just about our winner, but about the wider and the larger crisis that has gone on in northeast Nigeria. And let me just share a couple of comments from some of our Facebook users who are with us tonight. Ash from Jordan asks, what a strong and special soul, Mustafa, you are. You are destined for greatness. That's just somebody praising Zanna Mustapha. Paul says, what an inspirational being, and that his heart goes out to Zanna Mustafa. There's another comment from Chale who says, it's so unfair for these innocent children to witness such violence, thanks to all who have dedicated their lives to refugees. These are just some of the comments that we're getting coming in already on Facebook as we, for the first time, try and bring you elements of the award ceremony that will take place tonight. And it's really exciting to be able to tell our Facebook audiences that we think we're now joined, in fact, by Zanna Mustafa, the winner of the Nansen Award. I think he can come in. Zanna, are you there? Please come in. Awesome. Come on in. It's really great to have you here. Really great to have you here. Please just have a seat right there. I wasn't expecting you, but this is Facebook Live.
Yeah, that's great.
So anything is to be expected.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us in the Facebook Live studio. This is the first time we're transmitting or trying to transmit the Nansen Award to our audiences, our social media community.
Yeah.
Amazing, like I said, to have you here. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How does it feel to be this year's winner?
Well, I'm short of words. I don't know how to equate. More so, this is something that I started in 2007, and now a decade. And now being found worthy by no less than organizations like the United Nations, which is the highest organ in the world for now. And well, I'm exceedingly happy for being found worthy for that.
Now, I try to describe, Zanna, the sort of context, if you like, of Nigeria. And as you know, I have some experience there reporting on Boko Haram and the impact of the crisis.
That's right.
But give us a sense of the challenge and the conditions in which you faced in trying to achieve this objective of allowing children to still get the opportunity, displaced children, to still get the opportunity to go to school. What were you up against?
Well, what happened actually that when we started, the insurgency has not started. And we are now doing it for orphans. And in 2009, when the insurgency started, there was backlog of requests for enrollment after casting the children, the orphans' children on the street. That was when we started expanding the program to take from the different sides of the divide, because in a conflict you must have two sides, and we felt if they qualified as an orphan, we felt they are worthy of being our own student. That was how we went, admitted them, and then started. And in doing that, we have to be on the same page with the widows, because the widow in a traditional African setting, when the husband is the head of the family, and in his absence, the widow will be as vulnerable as the child or the orphan. So in that case, we have to put the two, so that the home and the school will be on the same page. That's why we leverage on the widows to come in, so that at least we should sit together to discuss the future of their own children. And that was how we started, by introducing the curriculum of the school, by telling them, what do you want for your own children? They said this, they said this. And that was how we brought in the government, the formal education sector, together to give them a coloration that is accepted within that community.
Now, we're getting lots of messages and questions from Facebook users who, for the first time, are getting the opportunity to see this ceremony, this wonderful moment of you getting this award live over the internet. Many are asking how you managed to have this vision to make sure children got this education, displaced children got this education in the midst of such insecurity and violence?
Well, the problem is that when you are doing something, and if every segment of the society is represented, so everybody feels that that thing is his own. So they don't usually see it in the light of saying, you introduce this to the community. If you now, we leverage on the widows. The widows are part of this society. We don't say you have to take from this side of the divide and leave the other one. It is a sort of an all-inclusive. And all the process are owned by the widows. They are the ones who introduce this. Everybody likes his own children. And if there is a son by an enemy, and with your own son together stand, you cannot say, let the two die. So you have to allow them, and knowing that they are friends, they are growing as a friend. So they play together, they eat together, and they are in the same class together. So they are embedded in the same community as any other person. So they now stay in harmony, and that is what we even leverage to give them. We are sort of an oasis of children in conflicts.
And not only have you assisted and provided for those communities displaced by violence, but even the children of Boko Haram fighters.
Yeah. Well, there is nothing. What matters most for us is being a child. If he is a child, it matters for us. We don't see it in that light. We don't see, because you cannot take the offense of his father and then put it on him. So we now felt as a child, he is worthy of being our own child. So we treat him as equal. And within the bounds of the school, we don't allow this sort of sentiments and emotion to put in within the school.
Zanna Mustapha, what can I say? Congratulations. It's absolutely fantastic that you've been recognized in this way and that the spotlight is being shined on this terrible humanitarian crisis and your individual commitment and selflessness. I'm being told I have to let you go now so that the ceremony can get underway. But thank you so much for coming to join us in the Facebook studio. Awesome. Please go ahead. Great. It was fantastic. It was fantastic to have Zanna Mustapha here with us live in the Facebook studio. We're asking you to send in your comments to the Facebook page at facebook.com/UNHCR. You can also read more about the Nansen Award for outstanding and exceptional assistance to refugees and displaced communities by going to UNHCR.org/Nansen. We've got many interesting variety of things lined up for the audience tonight. There'll be special performances from those who have committed their lives to trying to find solutions for refugees and displaced communities, not just in northeast Nigeria or the Lake Chad region or West Africa, but across the globe. We've also got speeches coming from those who work to finding solutions, durable solutions and long-term solutions for refugees. We'll also be joined in the Facebook studio by some of our colleagues who have had an incredible amount of experience trying to find those solutions. We've got more Facebook comments coming in and comments on social media. We've got a question from Zannah Mustapha, who is in Nigeria, and he says, what more can ordinary people do to assist those displaced? How did Zanna Mustapha find a way to find a solution even to the displaced communities in northeast Nigeria? We've also got one more from Paul saying what an inspirational human being Zanna Mustapha is. And I think almost we're going to be coming to the ceremony very, very soon. I can see things are getting underway, and I think we can introduce now, I think, our next guest, I believe. Melissa Fleming, please come on in. Thank you so much.
Actually, I'm going to give you a kiss because it's so great to see you.
Yes, it's really wonderful to have you here. I wasn't expecting you so soon, but it is great to have you here.
Well, you know, we all want to come to the Facebook studio to have this discussion with you, and it's a fantastic new initiative this year that we're able to broadcast our Nansen ceremony live to people around the world. It's usually only been available to the lucky people who get to come in the audience. So
and that's what makes it so exciting, and it's wonderful to have you here. I was just telling Facebook audiences that you're the head of communications, you're the chief spokesperson for our organization, and you have a wealth of knowledge and experience that I want us to delve into before the ceremony gets underway. My first question, Melissa, is why are we doing this? Why is it important to recognize individuals like Zanna Mustapha?
Well, you know, first of all, I believe that people are really the humanitarian heroes, and he is one of the best, are totally under-recognized, and yet there are so many people devoting their lives to the service of humanity. And so this Nansen Award was created in order to recognize those people who go beyond the call of duty. They're not just doing it for their jobs, which is actually a pretty amazing thing. I mean, you and I both get to work for UNHCR. We get to wake up in the morning and say, actually, we're doing something really meaningful with our lives just by working here. But they do more than that. I mean, night and day, they're working on behalf of humanity. And this award is there to recognize them.
Awesome. That's great. And when we recognize individuals like Zanna, how does that change the lives of those displaced communities that he's focused on? I mean, shining the spotlight in this way through this award.
Well, I think first of all, it changes the person who gets the award, because generally they have no idea that, you know, what they're doing is carrying so much meaning. And when the international community comes together and celebrates that person for even, you know, an act of humanity, an ongoing act of humanity that's being carried out in a small part of the world. You know, most people have never heard of where Zanna comes from, and they've heard of the Chibok girls, they've heard of Boko Haram, but they have not really heard of this. So for them, it's a massive recognition. When he goes back, he's going to have the ability through the prize money, and the prize money goes to a project. To, you know, build something new, extend something that he's doing. I think he wants to increase the numbers of beneficiaries who can go to school, the widows who can be served. So it's going to be really, really meaningful. Plus, you know, frankly, if the United Nations Refugee Agency, along with, you know, the Norwegian Refugee Council, the prestigious Nansen Refugee Award, is granted to somebody, then, you know, the government takes notice as well. Great. And that person has standing is much higher.
Melissa, I'm going to have to stop you there. Much shorter than what I wanted, because I'm being told I have to get to side of the stage because the ceremony is about to get underway.
Well, it was great.
I want to thank you so much for coming onto Facebook Live and just sharing your insights with us. Please, let's head over.
Let's head
over.
Ahead.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
You go ahead. Yeah, awesome. Alrighty, let's go now up to the stage where the ceremony is finally getting underway. We're going to be having an exceptional evening of not just acknowledgement of Zanna Mustapha, but celebration of his incredible dedication and commitment to refugees. And we're also going to be looking at the global context of this issue. There'll be films played tonight, examples of exceptional dedication and service towards displaced communities that we've seen in countries like Canada, for instance, and also musicians who have been part of telling the story and drawing public attention to the global displacement crisis. Now, as you can see, we're side of stage, and that now I think I'm going to be able to ask tonight's host, the host of the ceremony, Anita Rani, to join me.
Oh,
hi, Anita. How are you?
amazingly excited.
Great. We're live on Facebook.
Hello, Facebook. Hello, millions and squillions of people all over the world. Welcome to the Nansen Awards.
And it's really great to have Nansen live on Facebook and bring the social media community into this story.
Completely. This is something that everybody should know about. I think it's one of the most important, if not the most important award ceremony right now, because it's recognising someone who is doing something remarkable for the human race, and tonight's winner is just incredible.
And is that why you decided to be part of this? Why did you choose to give your time to this?
Because for me, 65.6 million people displaced on Earth right now. That means they're stateless, they're homeless for whatever reason. They don't have the benefit of being safe and comfortable in their home. Families, parents don't have the opportunity to protect their children in the way that they want to, or children and teenagers don't have the right to an education that they should have. And all I think is that it could be any one of us at any single time. So as a human being, we all have a duty to help others, because it could be us, and you would hope that somebody would do it for you.
And what do you think people can learn from Zanna Mustafa's example and the example that he has shown?
Zanna Mustafa, for me, shows how one single individual can make a huge difference. He's done it. He didn't wait for his friends to suggest it. He didn't wait for a big community of people to do it before he does it. Not that that's a bad thing. If that's your way of getting on board and helping people, great. But he did it as an individual. He had the capacity to want to do something more with his law degree, with his understanding of the culture of that part of Nigeria. He took a stand and he made a difference.
And that's something that wouldn't be easy in that environment, just because of what we know about Boko Haram and the kind of carnage that they have caused.
And disruption to that part of Nigeria. And imagine how those parents must have felt when their daughters were taken away. And then international media sort of forgot about them. And here is an individual who is from that country. It's about a local solution as well, Yvonne. He is a Nigerian man, he's a Nigerian lawyer who felt it. And I love something that he says, you will see it on the award ceremony tonight, that for him it was about doing something more than just practicing law.
Awesome. And I was trying to explain to the Facebook audience a little bit about what we have planned for this evening, but I think you'd probably be in a better position to say what we've got planned tonight and why we've chosen specific individuals and the kind of stories that we're going to hear tonight that will, I hope, lend themselves to drawing global attention, further attention to people like him, but the need for people to get involved as well.
Absolutely. Look, tonight is obviously we're here, and we know that the refugee crisis, the displacement of people is a humanitarian crisis, but at the same time tonight is a celebration, and everybody here tonight has some sort of connection to the refugee crisis. We've got Mariella, who is a Syrian refugee, who's a beautiful violinist. She's been playing since the age of 10. She actually got a music scholarship to go and study in the States. She'll be performing tonight. Miyavi, Japanese musician, actor, such an uber talent, such a graceful individual. He's playing with a choir, a young children's choir tonight. And then, this for me is on a personal level. Tony Allen, arguably one of the best living drummers on the planet right now. He was part of the Afrobeat movement from Nigeria with Fela Kuti, who's I'm a big fan of. He's going to be playing at the end of the ceremony. As well as celebrating all the good that these people are doing, we're actually going to have a really wonderful, wonderful evening.
Awesome. Well, Anita, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to our Facebook audiences. Have a fantastic night.
Thank you.
And we will be taking elements of the ceremony and broadcasting them live on Facebook for everybody else to be a part of this incredible celebration.
Fantastic. And please do get in touch with Facebook and let us know your thoughts on what you're seeing and how you feel about the crisis as well.
Anita. Thank you so
Have a
much.
wonderful evening.
Thank you. Mwah. And I was just saying there that the whole point of this evening is for you, the Facebook audiences, to get in touch and get involved. This is your opportunity to ask questions, to share your views, to send us your comments, anything that you want to know or feel you need to know, or just your views about the refugee displacement crisis that is going on globally. You can send them into us during this Facebook Live, and we will do everything we can to make sure you get the answers and the information that you need. Now, if you want to read more about the Nansen Award and how it all came about and how Zanna Mustafa was chosen and recognized, you can do that. All you need to do is go to the UNHCR website. That's unhcr.org/Nansen. You can read about the award there. You can hear and see a wonderful film that talks about Zanna's journey, Zanna's experience, and how he came about setting up the school in which so many children, hundreds of children, are benefiting from. You can also join us on Facebook here. If you go to facebook.com/UNHCR, you can send us your comments. Now, you should be able to see on your screen scrolling links to various bits of information about the Nansen Award, links to some of the films that we have put together about tonight's show. There are a couple of wonderful films that we have produced to really capture the essence, if you like, of the displacement crisis. We have a wonderful film about Fijon Nansen, whose name carries this award and whose idea it was really to start to recognize the commitment and dedication of individuals and organizations to finding solutions for refugees. We also have a great film looking at the global context of the refugee and displacement crisis. It's estimated that there are around 65 million refugees, internally displaced and stateless persons. And in this film, not only do you get an overview of just how serious the problem is, but it also looks at some of the grassroots solutions out there, things that local groups and communities are doing to find local solutions. We also have, of course, a wonderful film looking at, as I said, the winner, Zanna Mustafa, and some of the work that he's been doing. So let's now have a look at what comments have been coming in. I see that my phone has been buzzing, and we do have comments coming in from all over the world. We've got comments coming in from Mexico, from Sydney, from Indonesia, from Tokyo. Just reading my phone right now, and there's a nice message from Bernard. Not sure where he is, but it says, "Thank you, Zanna Mustafa. We celebrate you as a peacemaker. Greetings from Dadaab refugee camp in Kenya." Okay, that's my part of the world where you are regarded very highly due to your work on education as an important protection tool for refugees and other displaced people. Just also looking at the monitor to see whether the ceremony is getting underway, and it looks like it will be getting underway soon. Let's continue with some of the Facebook feedback and comments coming in. This is a message from Kate. She says, "We celebrate Zanna Mustafa's unwavering commitment to assisting and finding solutions for people, and in particular children who have found themselves in such indescribable, difficult circumstances. We all have a duty to do for others what Zanna Mustafa is doing," and absolutely, and that has been the wonderful thing about some of the work that he's been doing, which we can kind of delve into a little bit more as we wait for proceedings to be opened by Anita Rani, who's on stage live at the ceremony here in Geneva. Now, we know that Zanna Mustafa established this school, the Future Prowess Islamic School, in 2007 in Maiduguri, the capital of Borno State, which has been at the epicenter of the violence meted out on people by Boko Haram, and has dedicated 10 years literally to almost, single-handedly finding solutions for children displaced by Boko Haram, children whose schools were shut down or closed or destroyed in the violence and the chaos that has ensued there over the years. And it's estimated that he has single-handedly helped around 2,000 children. And if you manage to go onto the UNHCR website, which is unhcr.org/go to Nansen, you'll be able to see, as I said earlier, a short film about his story and how Zanna started in 2001 with just 36 orphans. Since then, and this is the latest information that we have, talking to him earlier, there are at least 628 children currently in school. In one of the schools that he's established, 359 have been able to graduate from secondary school. 36 are in university. And what is also really quite alarming is that there is a waiting list of some 2,000 children who want to get into the Future Prowess School, such as the need for education and access to education. And it's not just the educational aspect of things, that Zannah has been working on. We understand and we know that he has also played a crucial role in mediation. This is one of the things that we didn't get to talk to him about, but a very important aspect of the work he's been doing. He was involved in mediating for some of the Chibok girls who were abducted in 2014 from the Chibok Girls Secondary School in Nigeria. Many people might remember the Bring Back Our Girls campaign and how there was an international outcry over this. Now, it seems like we should also hopefully be able to cross to the ceremony now. I think it should be getting underway. Okay, awesome. All right, I'm getting different information. This is Facebook Live, just reminding you that we're live on air here. Okay, I think we're going now to Catherine. I think you're coming, Catherine, for a spontaneous interview. What could I call it? I wasn't expecting you, but thank you for coming.
Not at all.
Okay, right. So we're still very much on explaining the story of Nansen and how it came about, and I presume that's why you're here.
Yes.
And it's really great to have you talk to our Facebook audiences, Catherine. Catherine Porteus has been, what can I call you? The brains behind the Nansen Refugee Award. How did you identify Zanna Mustapha, Catherine? Because I was really struck by that when you contacted me to say that you found this individual in Nigeria. Tell me a bit about that process.
Well, it's a year-round process to find the winner. So we go through a call for nominations, which actually opens in November, and we do a huge amount of research on all of our nominees. And this year we actually had record numbers of nominees, more than 250, which is unbelievable. And Mr. Mustapha really stood out to us. He has an incredible story. The school which I visited a couple of months ago is truly incredible. It's really, really inspirational. And Mr. Mustapha really stood out this year as a hero that deserved recognition.
Excellent. Catherine, thank you so much.
No problem.
I'm going to tear away from you. I want to hear more because I think the ceremony finally is about to get underway, and we want to bring that for the first time to our Facebook Live audience. So let's go over to listen to Anita Rani as she opens proceedings tonight.
Reminding us of the incredible achievements of Fridtjof Nansen, who gives his name to this award. Now, before we continue, a little bit about myself. I am the granddaughter of refugees. My maternal grandmother had to flee Myanmar for India during the Second World War. My three other grandparents were affected by the partition of India 70 years ago, when overnight 15 million people were displaced and became refugees. They found themselves having to rebuild their lives from nothing. But thanks to the human capacity to endure hardship, their drive to survive, and crucially, the kindness of humankind, 3 generations later, I proudly stand here before you tonight. So tonight, we honour Mr. Zanna Mustafa, who's dedicated the last 10 years to supporting displaced children and orphans in one of the most dangerous communities in the world. Against the odds, Mr. Mustafa established the Future Prowess Islamic Foundation and School in Maiduguri, northeast Nigeria, and it's now a symbol for peace in that community. So in recognition of Mr. Mustafa's work, our ceremony tonight will take you on a journey to understand what it means to stand with refugees and the power of local solutions. I'm delighted to introduce an incredible woman who's using her music to deliver a message of peace and hope. She's a former Syrian refugee and hugely talented musician. Please welcome, put your hands together for Mariella Shaker and pianist Riyad Nicholas, who will perform Méditation Thais by Jules Massenet.
some awesome music coming there from Mariela Shaker at the ceremony, playing the beautiful violin, an incredible story, an incredible journey herself, a Syrian refugee musician who's been now resettled in the United States, entertaining the distinguished audience here gathered tonight in Geneva, Switzerland, to recognize the incredible work of Zanna Mustapha, what he's been doing with children and widows in Nigeria who have been affected and displaced and forced to flee their homes, and incredible violence by Boko Haram and the crisis that they have caused there. Now, we want to come back to you, our Facebook audience, and comments and questions have been coming in thick and furious, which is fantastic, because this is what this is all about, bringing you, our Facebook Live audience, closer to us and creating a community around these issues and recognizing people like Zanna and the importance of the Nansen Award in motivating, if you like, people to get involved and have a positive impact and help ultimately to find solutions. I'm joined in our Facebook studio now by a good friend and colleague who has worked very closely on the issues and this topic that we're looking at tonight, the impact of Boko Haram. Ben Simon, or Benjamin to me. Ben, it's great to have you here. Really excited that you were able to make it for the first time, you know, of us being live on Facebook with Nansen. You know, the winner is from Nigeria. You've heard a little bit about his work in leading a one-man campaign, if you like, to keep schools in northern Nigeria open despite the mayhem and the chaos instigated by Boko Haram. How important is it, do you think, for people like him to be recognized?
It's interesting that he's being recognized tonight, because I was actually at a press conference this week with the High Commissioner, and what he was explaining is, and it's something that most of us know, that in a crisis, it's always local people who are the first responders, and it's typically local people who will be there once the crisis eases. And so if you take something like the Boko Haram crisis, what you have now is a situation of international concern with a major international presence, but obviously Zanna Mustafa was there from the beginning of this crisis and isn't going anywhere. And so to recognize people who are on the ground from the beginning, who don't leave and don't withdraw and don't deploy to the next disaster, I think that honoring their work is vital.
Now, we were in Nigeria at the same time, you and I, working as journalists. I don't want to talk too much about my experience because I talk a lot about it. I want to hear about your perspective. Give our Facebook users a sense of the environment in which somebody like Zanna and Zanna himself would be operating in. Just give them a sense of just how impossible, if you like, it would be to achieve what he has achieved.
I mean, I've been gone from Nigeria for 2 years. And my memories of covering Boko Haram when I got there, both from Lagos by phone and to trips to the north, northeast, and central Nigeria, was you had extraordinary levels of violence with very little attention, and not a lot of backup from the Nigerian state. Obviously, their response was lacking in so many ways, and the protection offered by the Nigerian military was lacking in so many ways. And the types of attacks that were going on through 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015 were extraordinary. Entire towns were being overrun. And I don't actually have any idea how someone like Zanna Mustafa would have been able to do what he did. I certainly couldn't have done it. I mean, I imagine it must have taken extraordinary heroism and perseverance, but the level of chaos that this insurgency wrought through the early years is very difficult to put into terms. It was a massive, massive uprising.
You're bringing back lots of memories for me, Ben. So we recognize this individual in the way that we are doing tonight, but throwing forward and looking at the fact that the spotlight can now be shined, if you like, or is being shone tonight by the UN Refugee Agency and everybody covering this award. What should the impact ultimately be? Because, as you said, he's one person. What do you hope when you come to an award ceremony like this and hear about what he's done? What impact do you think it should have, and how can it have a positive impact?
It's a difficult question for me to answer. I mean, I think that a lot of people all over the world are often looking for opportunities to help, and I'm not encouraging anybody to support any particular organization or not. That's not my role. But the thing about philanthropy and crises is that the level at which people pay attention tends to fluctuate quite a bit. And what I think you see in northeast Nigeria now, and again, I'm not covering it on a daily basis, is that with the Chibok abductions fading from public view, and with Boko Haram to an extent not attacking with the same intensity and frequency, which is what everybody wants, attention on the conflict and attention on northeast Nigeria may be easing. It's not always a top story anymore. And I think that nights like this are probably important to refocus people on what has happened, what continues to happen, and maybe if you're persuaded to help, that there are people out there who are deserving.
Because there is always, as you say, there is always the danger that people do forget as soon as it's no longer front page news. The remarkable perseverance in the face of adversity that is exemplified through people like Zannah gets easily forgotten.
Yeah, it does, and I think, the Chibok story is a perfect example of that. As you would remember being a correspondent there at the time, the level of attention on the Boko Haram conflict that those abductions provoked was overwhelming. Every celebrity of note in the world was participating in a social media campaign to raise awareness to these girls, and that's terrific. But maybe tonight's like this could possibly be helpful in recalling the fact that life is still very difficult for a lot of people caught up in the conflict. And again, I've been gone for 2 years, and I'm not the best person to speak to how things are now, but certainly it is important to the extent possible to maintain focus on a situation which I think is still very, very difficult.
Ben, just one more question for you, but before I pose that question, just to remind our Facebook Live audiences, we want your comments, your questions, your opinions, your views. Maybe you know nothing about this crisis. Maybe you're in northern Nigeria or in the region and are concerned and want to know what you can do to get involved. Please get in touch with us. You can get in touch with us at UNHCR.org/Nansen. That's where you can read about the Nansen Award, how we identified this individual, how he came to be given this award. You can, of course, also follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/UNHCR, where you can watch us live now, which is what most of you are obviously doing. Also, you can see some of the films that have been made around this Nansen Award, the kind of incredible contribution from people around the world in terms of finding solutions to the displacement crisis. And just finally, Ben, for you as a media operator and journalist, what is the role of the media in storytelling? I mean, you see this individual, you think, well, maybe why didn't I find this story? What is the role of the media in kind of keeping the light shining on the fact that there are still more than 2 million people displaced in the region? They say 11 million affected in some level of humanitarian crisis, 700,000, close to 700,000 children outside of school. What is the role of the media?
It's a difficult question. I'm not sure I'm perfectly equipped to answer it right now, but I would say that what ideally we would do in the media is to not get complacent about the level of suffering that's out there. Certainly when you're working in a job like mine at the moment in Geneva, you're not on the ground covering these crises, but you're hearing about them on a daily basis. And the numbers of displaced and the number of people in need of assistance and the amount of money needed is overwhelming, and it pivots from Yemen to Syria to Iraq to Nigeria to Central African Republic. And I think probably we all need to find a way to not let them become numbers and remember that there's people behind it all.
Thank you, Ben. I have to stop you there because we want to go back to the ceremony for an incredibly important and special speech by Nansen Mustapha, a Syrian refugee affected, horribly affected by the crisis there. Let's go over to the ceremony.
So, first, I have cerebral palsy, which has prevented me from going to school. And yeah, so I lived in a 5th floor apartment in a building with no lift. I'd barely left my home, only to celebrate the Kurdish New Year on the 21st of March, which we as a Kurdish family celebrated. So Now, if this sounds like the most boring life ever, like I was too sad or too lonely, I'm happy to say that you are wrong. You know, I had transformed our living room into my own school. I had books to read, TV to watch, and lots of things to learn about Catherine the Great, the Romanovs, and Einstein's theories about the universe. So, and then came the moment where I realized that I had to leave that room, that city, that country, and everything I loved behind. To be honest, it didn't sound like, that bad at the beginning. I mean, me, the girl who's barely left her home, was going to cross the whole of Europe to get to Germany. Yay! That was until I was struck with the reality, with the realization that I had become a thing, a problem to be solved, a crisis, something that nobody wanted. I hated that feeling so much. So I've decided to share my story and my journey in a book, because I believe that the more people understand you, the less they fear you. Yeah. As for what I'm doing now, I'm happy to report that I live in the German city of Cologne in a quiet house, and I'm pretty happy. I now do everything I've always wished to do. I go to school, I have homework, tests, and I fangirl and listen to Adele all day long. Yeah. Now, this might sound like the happy ending of a story. But no, it's not. Because even after all this time, I still wonder why my sister is attending a German course instead of being a college graduate. Why my brother is asking me to help him with his German instead of working as an accountant in a company. Yeah. Believe me, missing a place you can't go back to is a feeling I wouldn't wish any one of you to experience. So what I came to say today is that this nonsense has to stop. We should love, respect, and accept one another. Because no parent deserves to be faced with a question that he has no answer to. The question of a child, Mom, why can't we go home? Thank you.
Najeen, thank you so much for sharing that story. You're amazing. And you weren't nervous at all, were you?
Or just as Anita Rani was saying, absolutely amazing personal testimony from Nansen Mustapha, who has cerebral palsy and has been affected by the crisis in Syria and goes around giving inspirational talks and motivating people and drawing attention to just how serious the refugee and displacement crisis is. You can find out more about her and everybody that's taking part in tonight's show by going to unhcr.org/Nansen. You can also share your comments and views on facebook.com/UNHCR. And I've not forgotten Twitter, of course. You can hashtag any views, any questions, any comments that you may have using the hashtag Nansen Award. We're very keen to bring our social media community into this first ever Facebook Live attempt to semi-live stream broadcast the Nansen Award as it plays out here in Geneva, Switzerland, where tonight we're honouring Zannah Mustapha from northeast Nigeria, who has almost single-handedly impacted positively the lives of thousands of people by leading a one-man campaign, if you like, to make sure schools are open despite the crisis, and has done so much to assist widows and other communities. Now, as I said, that there are various films that we have made to, again, try to encapsulate this issue. And one of those films is looking at the global refugee and internally displacement, stateless persons crisis, a short film called The Global Refugee Crisis, which we put together, that also focuses not just on giving you the facts, but also looking at some of the grassroots movements to find solutions. It's a wonderful film narrated by Colin Firth.
When the numbers get too big, it's time to focus on the people. Every life matters. It's only when we see the individual families and children without homes, jobs, schools, that we can really fathom how much is at stake.
أنا حابب كمل دراستي واطلع رائد فضاء يعني مشان شوف الكواكب كلياتها نكمل الفضاء وهذا الشيء ما راح يمنعنا بنوب.
The sheer scale of the current crises around the world demands that we find a better way to help. It requires new ideas and new approaches, working side by side to deliver for refugees and bring communities together. And it requires tenacity. Faced with more complex refugee emergencies, countries with the least means still host the greatest numbers of uprooted families, and sometimes for decades. A more holistic and comprehensive approach is being tested, in which all parts of society have roles and responsibilities. In Uganda, the country that has hosted millions of uprooted families, refugees are offered land to farm and the right to work. In Iran, refugees can access training programs and can go to school. In Central America, to address the growing displacement, countries are employing a region-wide approach to ensure that no nation is alone in finding solutions. Elsewhere, there are inspiring examples, big and small, of how to make a difference. Against the odds, there are thousands of refugees creating their own success stories. People in towns and cities around the world have realized the potential that refugees can offer. Through innovation and creativity, grassroots efforts are supporting entire communities, not just the refugees who live there. When our common humanity prevails, solutions are no longer elusive. We can find the means to create a more just and effective way to resolve the refugee crisis and, at the same time, improve the societies which welcome them. All of this demonstrating that when we stand with refugees, we also stand for respect and dignity for all people. We have a historic opportunity.
Incredibly moving short film, just looking at the global refugee crisis, just how serious displacement is as a global problem and the need for shared responsibility and for finding local solutions within our various communities. Once again, wanting all of you Facebook viewers to join us by going to facebook.com/UNHCR and sending your comments. You can also read more about this award ceremony at unhr.org/Nansen. And we want to go now back to the ceremony to hear wonderful Japanese musician, actor, and philanthropist Miyavi Ishara take to the stage. By Miyavi Ishara at this incredible ceremony in Geneva to recognize outstanding humanitarian dedication and service by Zanna Mustapha from Nigeria. And I'm joined by a fellow Nigerian here in the studio, Tony Allen. You've been described as one of the world's best drummers and composers, like I said, from Nigeria. Why are you here tonight? Why did you decide to come here and be a part of this recognition?
It's just to honor the award Zanna Mustafa is receiving today towards his fantastic job he had done for the country to be able to retrieve some of those girls from what's it called?
Boko Haram.
Yeah, Boko Haram. And I was just wondering that how he was able to, which role was it kind of playing there, with who and who? Was it with the government or was it with the terrorists who were there?
Yeah.
That how I was just wondering.
Yeah.
How he was able to manage to
do it. Yeah. Well, like you said, Tony, is remarkable. As you know, we're live on Facebook. First time we're trying to bring this award ceremony to the Facebook audience, and questions coming in for you. We've got time for just one. There's a question coming in from Nigeria. You are Nigerian. How has this affected you? Has this refugee crisis affected you in any way?
No.
Can you just tell us?
It's too much. It's too much chaotic. Affair one could even think of, because as a Nigerian, I don't look. It makes me. I don't supposed to look down on my country. I'm proud of my country because I can never be, any country than my country. So, but the mess that was going on there is all this maladministration that shouldn't be there now, and which is right there, right in front of us. And we're just wondering that, it's touchy, because since when Boko Haram started, Boko Haram has been like maybe for almost 5 years now. And how come
Yeah. Now, Tony, unfortunately, we have to wrap it up there. I have to stop you, but thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you for your contribution. I'm going to leave you here and rush off to the backstage area. Let's go and see if we can catch up with Mivani Ishihara, who's just coming off stage, a well-known Japanese musician and philanthropist who has been to see the displaced communities in places like Lebanon and Thailand, and he should just be coming off the main ceremony stage, and I hope we will be able to see him and talk to him in a couple of minutes about, as I say, his contribution, why he's here tonight, why he's decided to give his time and his commitment to shining a light on this issue. You can watch and find out more about the Nansen Award and how it came about by going to the UN Refugee Agency website. That's unhcr.org/Nansen. You can also, of course, check us out on facebook.com/UNHCR. We want your comments, we want your questions, we want your views, and we want your ideas. The essence and the values of the Nansen Award are all about shared responsibility and about the importance of everybody getting involved to find solutions. I'm just looking for Mivani now. He should be coming side of stage any moment now. But like I said, the values of the Nansen Award and why it's so important to recognize his contribution. Now, I'm being told that Mivani is still on stage, and I think we're going to go across and hear what he has to say.
The first, food, water, and health. But after that, education is really important so that we will not going to make same mistake. So, and then I do rock. I've been rocking. I play the guitar every day.
And you rocked us tonight, really. You are brilliant.
Yeah, thanks to, the great performance, especially great choir kids. They prepare so much. They're so passionate. So, as I said, as long as the kids are smiling, I think our future is bright. Yeah.
I think I absolutely agree with you. Miyavi, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And I know that the UNHCR truly value your support as well. So
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Miyavi.
much. Thank you.
Thank you to the incredible Miyavi. How cool is he? And the Geneva International School Choir and the Neon Quartet. Thanks also to Colin Firth for adding his voice to the Global Challenges film. Now that film
incredible music by Miyavi Ishihara, a renowned and respected Japanese musician and philanthropist who has given so much time and commitment to shining the spotlight on refugee issues. And I think I'm going to be joined with him right now. You've got somebody to take your water. Miyavi, thank you so much. You were it's great to get a hug. You were fantastic.
Thank you.
So many social media comments and questions coming in for you.
Oh, really?
But I want to ask you a question first.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to be a part of this award show?
Because that's what we do, and then it gives you more meaning in your life. And then, as I said, I've been just rocking, playing the guitar all day. But once I saw this, what's happening right
here. This year's award is about education. I'm very happy about that. Because when you do the work my colleagues and I do, there's one very bad thing that you understand quite quickly. And that is that education is the first casualty, the first victim of conflict. We see this every day. I was in Bangladesh last week, visiting refugees that had been coming, as you have all seen, by the hundreds of thousands from Myanmar. Difficult to find any one of them able yet to go to school in those makeshift camps. We have seen it for years in Syria. 5 million refugees in neighboring countries, many of them children of school age. And it took organizations like mine many years to convince the international community that it was as important to invest in education as it was to give them the basic humanitarian assistance. We see it in the countries neighboring South Sudan, a country that has 1/3 of its population as refugees or displaced people. Very few of those 4 million go to school. The risk of this situation is that entire generations of children lose the possibility of going to school. This puts their future at risk. This puts at risk the future of their communities. I would even say that it puts at risk the future of their countries, because if and when they go back, they will go back without having received the benefits of education. And during the difficult period of exile, when they are refugees, when they are displaced, children without education are more exposed than all others, than any other children, to the risk of trafficking, of criminals exploiting them, of sexual exploitation, of radicalization. The reality, we heard many nice things tonight, but let's not forget that the reality is very harsh. Refugee children have 4 times more chances to stay out of school than children who are not refugees. Only 1% of refugee children goes to university. This is, I can assure you, one of the main concerns, one of the main worries of my colleagues and I. And we've been saying for years we need to do more, and we are trying to do more. But there are people that do not spend time responding to this crisis of education with words. There are people that take action. And one of them is the recipient of this year's Nansen Award, Zannah Mustapha. Mr. Mustafa is from Nigeria. He's from northeastern Nigeria, from Maiduguri. Maiduguri is at the heart of a very vicious conflict. Is one of the cities, one of the places that has been affected by the cruel insurgency of Boko Haram, an organization, a terrorist organization that in its very name wants to deny the benefits of education. And in that impossible place, in that, as Anita said earlier, in that which is one of the most dangerous places on earth, he had the courage to build a school. He had the courage to offer education to children affected by violence. I cannot think, I was reflecting coming here, I cannot think of any better choice for this year's Nansen Award. The Nansen Award, as you probably know, represents the recognition of commitment to the cause of refugees. I think it certainly applies to commitment, as it is the case for Zanna Mustafa, the commitment to address the root causes of displacement, especially the lack of education, the commitment to offering opportunities to those that are displaced and refugees to build their resilience and to build the possibility of a better future. This is so important, and I think it's so important that we recognize this tonight as we collectively redouble efforts to have more refugee and displaced children in school, everywhere, including in northeast Nigeria, to turn the tide on the violence that has affected for too long hundreds of thousands of families and for people and families. I also want to say one more thing. Fridtjof Nansen, the first High Commissioner for Refugees, was a man of courage and peace. And I think that tonight we also recognize, we celebrate the achievements of Zanna Mustafa, a man of courage and peace. A man who not only built this extraordinary education project in such a difficult area, but also was involved, as you may know, in the release of 120 girls kidnapped by Boko Haram. I was in Maiduguri. I was telling Zanna just a few minutes ago, I was in Maiduguri a few months ago. And I can assure you, it takes courage to do what he has done, to do what he is doing, and it takes a strong belief in peace to do that. So thank you, Mr. Zanna Mustafa. Thank you very much for inspiring us in these difficult times. This, for sure, gives all of us hope, but more importantly, it gives hope to millions of children to whom we must provide a better future. Thank you.
President Goodluck Jonathan declared suicide bombing worldwide.
The world's most deadly. Incredibly inspirational and thoughtful words from our High Commissioner, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, Filippo Grandi, just touching on the incredible and inspirational work of individuals like Zanna Mustafa. And that's the reason why we're all here tonight, to recognize and to celebrate and to acknowledge, to give recognition, as I say, to the incredible work of individuals like him. We've been asking you guys on Facebook to give us as much feedback as we would possibly want about tonight, and we've got lots of comments coming in, which I will be sharing with you in the next few minutes, but it's really lovely to welcome Miyavi back here. We started our discussion. Please come and sit down.
Thank you.
I wasn't sure whether that was you in on my right side. So Miyavi, we were talking backstage slightly earlier, and we got interrupted, obviously, because we wanted to hear the keynote. Yeah, we wanted to hear the keynote speech, and we may go back again to see the moment when Zanna Mustafa actually picks up his award. But lots of comments and questions for you. You're a huge hit with our Facebook followers. Let me just pose one question to you that comes from Nareen. Miyavi, now that you've become more involved and active with UNHCR in bringing focus on helping refugees, have you noticed a change in your fans as well as those who believe the same message as you?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Strongly believe so.
Yeah.
And then my mission is to combine music and a good message. So it's really hard, entertainment and humanitarian, activity has been separated. But for now, it's really important to combine all of them so that more young generation can get involved with not only our refugee crisis, many, many issues for our future. So, yeah.
Great. And Miyavi, I just want to go back a bit because I don't want to assume that all our audiences globally are aware of some of the work that you've been doing. We've got people watching and listening from all over the world, in particular Nigeria, where Zanna comes from. Yeah. Just tell us a bit about the work you've been doing directly with displaced communities and refugees.
What I've been doing?
Yes, what you've been doing.
I visited Lebanon, the refugee camps, internment camps, in Lebanon and Thailand. So the first, to be honest, the first time I went there, I was not sure how much I was capable because I was not, how to say, had no knowledge and also experience. But when I went there, and once I played the guitar, I saw the shine, the brightness in the kids' eyes. I thought, we have the power of music, and also the kids want to learn, study, and then I try to let the kids touch the guitar, play the guitar, and then they are all lined up, but they started fighting. Fighting, the real fight. And some kids started bleeding.
Wow.
So I realized if they don't get the right education, they're gonna make conflict in the future. So
And on that point, it's a good time to bring in a question related to your trip and what you saw in Lebanon. Comes from Kan Misa, and this is to Miyavi. On your first visit to Lebanon, refugee camps that you saw there, what was the impact it had on you while seeing the reality that refugees face and living? Has it influenced the way you live your daily life?
Yes, a lot.
Okay, how has it changed the way you live your life?
This is every creation I make, and also the way I live. Even the food, water, and no more waste of it. And also I have 2 daughters, so I'm telling them it's really important to know there are so many kids who are wanting to study. And then since that day I started looking for things that I can do, and then I realized music is my weapon to spread the message. So put the good message into my creation is my mission now.
And you're a celebrated and famous musician and performer. What can ordinary people do? People who are not musicians, people who are not in the public eye. Can, what we've seen in Zanna, how does that touch and inspire other people to do what they can within their communities?
Depends. Some people cannot do right now. So that's why I'm not saying you need to help them. I don't say that. As a student, but even me, myself, 10 years ago, was not able to do this. So 10 years later, now, I'm doing this. So the thing is to spread the awareness, to know what's happening, and then start thinking what you can do. Maybe people can do something 10 years later, 15 years later. So that's what I've been telling to my fans as well. I'm not saying that you guys should visit the refugee camps right now. I don't say that. But even the $1 donation is a first step. Nobody said that it's not meaningful. It's a big step.
Yeah, excellent. Miyavi, thank you so much. Stay with us, because I think we are going to soon go over to see that moment where we see Zanna Mustapha getting the Nansen Award. But just to remind our audiences that this is all about you and bringing the Facebook and social media community to the Nansen Award, to be a part of this and to be inspired by it. Let's cross over now to the ceremony to see this moment we've all been waiting for, Zanna Mustapha finally getting the Nansen Award.
Thank you. Join me now in welcoming our 2017 Nansen Refugee Award winner, Mr. Zanna Mustafa. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And this is the award. I'll take it back from you so you can.
Your Excellency, the High Commissioner, ladies and gentlemen, it is with utmost sense of humility that I wish to accept this humanitarian award. This award cannot be for me alone, but rather the multitude of those who by...
Okay. The recipient of the Nansen Award, Zanna Mustapha, just in the middle of just beginning to give his acceptance speech tonight, and it really has been incredible just seeing all the commitment and dedication of people like him and other people that we have seen on stage tonight during this ceremony. I'm now joined here in our little Facebook studio by somebody very special, somebody very dear to me. Millicent, welcome. This is Millicent Matuli, who is, what can I call you? an accomplished, dedicated humanitarian who knows the region where Zannah has been working so very well. Millicent is a Deputy Director of our Africa Bureau at the UN Refugee Agency based here in Geneva, Switzerland, but she has been on the ground in Nigeria and in places like Nigeria, and that's why we invited you to talk to our Facebook audience, listening in, watching from around the world. Straight question to you, Millicent. When we see people like Zannah being recognized, what's the impact?
I think it gives people the courage. Courage, it encourages that small actions do count. It does matter.
Awesome. Now, tell us a little bit about what you have seen yourself, because obviously the journey towards recognizing him is a long one. It takes a year to find people like this. And I want you to describe for our audiences the context, the situation on the ground there that really makes what he has done so astounding, so formidable.
You know, when I'm asked to describe northern Nigeria, I start off by reeling off the figures. But I think that doesn't tell the story. It doesn't quite describe it. But yet, there's 1.8 million people in northern Nigeria where Zannah is, people who cannot go home. And Yvonne, when I traveled in northern Nigeria a few months ago, I had the opportunity to take a helicopter ride to places like Goza, to places like Bama. And then I understood what it meant when we said people could not go home, because there were no villages. There was only blackened spots that were left where the villages were. Then I understood. It's a place where northern Nigeria, children can no longer go to school.
Yeah.
And that is where Zannah becomes a very interesting, a very special find, because Zannah is trying to help children to go to school. And education is so much the future, so much part of that solution.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about that, because much of what we do is around education for displaced communities. And we haven't talked much about that tonight. Tell us a bit about the destruction to education caused by this crisis and how that actually makes displacement worse for people.
It takes away any hope. It takes away any hope. Education is that seed for that 5-year-old child, for that 10-year-old child. Zannah spoke to us about the kind of children that he's helping. He spoke about 12-year-old girls that are mothers. He even said they had been married, that they were widows. It hurt. And it is that education, that he can give that child that hope for a future, it really matters.
Things moving very fast on the Facebook Live show. I'm just going to ask you to pause there, Millicent, because we want to take Facebook viewers back to the ceremony just for a couple of minutes to hear a special message that was put together by our special envoy, Angelina Jolie, for Zannah. Let's go over to the ceremony.
Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry I can't be there with you tonight, but I'm thrilled that my friend Miyavi is there to perform his tribute to refugees, the others. There is nothing more important in the life of any person than the chance to have an education. Yet millions of children have their education disrupted by war. I have seen the impact this has on young refugees, denying them a safe place to study and play, taking their dreams away from them, limiting their possibilities to work, and making them even more vulnerable. Zanna Mustafa runs his school in the midst of the Boko Haram insurgency in Nigeria, in the teeth of brutal conflict in which schools and school children are deliberately targeted. The courage it takes to defend children's rights to education in the face of Boko Haram is extraordinary. Zanna Mustafa has brought light to a region that has been terrorized for years. He has made his community stronger. Girls and boys who might otherwise have been lost now feel they have a future. Mr. Mustafa, you are an inspiration. I hope this award will encourage you and others to continue this vital work. Have a beautiful evening.
Well, a superb congratulatory message from our special envoy, Angelina Jolie, for Zannah Mustapha tonight. Really lovely of Angelina to put that together. Back to Millicent Matuli, Deputy Director in the Africa Bureau at the UN Refugee Agency. Many questions coming in from Facebook and social media users. One question for you that's come in about what people can do. IFO asks, there are so many incredible people and organizations doing work for refugees around the world. What made Zannah stand out? Because there are loads of people doing this kind of thing, or maybe not.
Zannah stands out, and it's true that there's lots of people making an effort. Zannah stood out because Zannah went and picked out that part of the society that we don't always see. He's looking at the children, and he's planting the seed of hope, the seeds of peace, with children in Maiduguri. He is taking children and helping them mend some of these children's broken spirits and their families too. Zannah took children and their parents and widows. He stood out. He is planting a seed of peace.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Millicent. Just one comment. Shout out to Rams Bryant. This is a message from colleagues in Nigeria. We're watching live from UNHCR office in Maiduguri. We feel proud to have someone from our area as a recipient of this award. Congratulations, and we look forward to celebrating with the award winner upon his return to Maiduguri. All is set, awaiting his arrival. Congratulations from the staff of UNHCR in Maiduguri. Absolutely wonderful, and I feel incredibly proud as well to be asked to be a part of this, because as you know, Nigeria is also very close to my heart. Worked there for a long time covering the Boko Haram crisis as a journalist. We will be going back to the ceremony momentarily, but just to remind Facebook users, social media users, we still want you to get in touch. We still want your comments. We still want your questions. You can find us at facebook.com/UNHCR. If you want to tweet about the Facebook Live, you can by using the hashtag Nansen Award. And if you want to hear more and see more about the journey towards Nansen, you can go to the UNHCR.org website. It's UNHCR.org/Nansen. You'll be able to see some of the films that have been played at the ceremony and hear the inspirational stories about how this award ceremony came together. We're going to go back to the ceremony momentarily now to hear Tony Allen, who was with me in the Facebook studio earlier, described as one of the world's best drummers from Zanna Mustafa's native Nigeria, an inspirational musician and figure who's taken the time to come and celebrate this fantastic achievement by Zannah tonight. Let's go over to the ceremony. great music from Tony Allen, all the way from Nigeria, one of the world's best drummers, celebrating the remarkable achievement of Zanna Mustapha and his one-man campaign almost to keep schools open in northern Nigeria, help displaced children and widows affected by the Boko Haram crisis, which has been raging for so very long. Lots of comments coming in on Facebook and on social media in general, people asking about what they can do to help displaced people and communities where they live and around the world. And we've got a very nice sort of article put together by our head of communications and chief international spokesperson, Melissa Fleming, who was with me here in the studio earlier tonight. And these are just some of the examples which I can share with you about things that you can do to get involved. I mean, you may not be able to do something as incredible as what Zanna has achieved, but every little bit helps. One idea is hosting refugees and asylum seekers at home. You can also volunteer your specific skills. Maybe you're in a specific profession where you could help to harness the similar skills in the refugee community or displaced community where you live. Another one is help refugees integrate into your local culture. There was a wonderful example of that going on in Sweden, one of the runners-up for the Nansen, where they have a wonderful project that basically takes Swedish culture and tries to integrate refugees into the everyday activities that people in Sweden partake in. University and education is key. And as we've been hearing through Zanna Mustafa's story, refugees lose hope when they don't have an opportunity to have an education. So you can encourage your university or your educational institution to offer refugee scholarships to people, employ refugees. That's another idea. Do you have a job going where the skills of people are required and there's an opening that perhaps a refugee could fill? Number 6, offer opportunities for refugees to volunteer, hold awareness and fundraising events, and of course donate. And you can donate by going to the UNHCR website. That's unhcr.org. Now we're going to head backstage because the evening is sort of wrapping up now, almost wrapping up, not quite over, and we are going to go backstage and see whether we can just really share in that the final moments of this wonderful awards ceremony. Like I said, if you want to share your comments and views, you can, again, join us on facebook.com/UNHCR. You can also go to the UNHCR.org website. That's UNHCR.org/Nansen. Now, that's where you can read about some of the films that you've seen here tonight, some of the performances that you have seen here tonight. It has been an incredible evening of recognition and of celebration. We have seen musical performances from refugees like Mariella Shaker, who played a beautiful song from the violin. We heard that powerful testimony from Nansen Mustafa, a young girl with cerebral palsy from Syria, affected by the conflict there. But despite being affected so negatively, goes around giving inspirational talks to young people in universities, in schools, in institutions. And of course, a big hit with our Facebook audiences, Miyavi Ishihara from Japan. Lots of comments, lots of questions for him, and it was great to hear him talk about some of the work that he has been doing in places like Thailand and Lebanon. Also wonderful to have with us in the studio Millicent Batuli, the Deputy Director of the Africa Bureau at UNHCR. It was great to hear her talk about some of the solutions, some of the things that people can do to try and bring about solutions to assist and to help displaced people within communities nearby. Now our social media producer is just handing me my phone with other comments coming in, which I can just share with you. Just quickly to say that people seem to be listening and watching from all over the world. We've got audiences in Nigeria, in the US, in Iraq, comments coming in in from Monaco, Indonesia, Sydney, Japan, Mexico, Burundi, Ethiopia. So let's go with this comment from Sami Ndingi, who says, it is good to know that there are still angels in this world who are giving hope to the hopeless. Thank you, UN Refugee Agency, for recognizing one of those angels. Oh, it's our pleasure to do that, Sami. And another one from Hanson Tamfu. A good mix there, Tony Allen. A good mix there, Tony Allen celebrating another Nigerian, Zanna Mustafa. Africa is looking up to Nigeria to come out of the insurgency and continue with its leadership role for the continent. And some beautiful messages there, and a real example that Zanna Mustafa has shown us. Again, we're still keen to get your comments and your views. I think we can head this way, I think, to perhaps see Anita Rani. I'm going the wrong way, I'm being told. It's this way, apparently. Let's go this way and see if we can find Anita Rani as the evening wraps up. Oh, she's right here. I was looking for you. Wonderful, absolutely fantastic hosting.
Thank you. What an amazing evening.
Yeah, it's been amazing, and we're still live on Facebook. Your ceremony's over, but our show is still going on.
Hello, Facebook.
And I just wanted to catch you at the end and just sort of say, okay, what do you take away from this? We saw the ceremony, we shared a lot of it with our audiences. How do you come away feeling?
I'm utterly inspired.
Yeah.
I hope everybody watching Facebook has been as well.
Yeah.
By seeing Najeen and seeing Miss Mustafa talking about their own experiences and what they've done to help.
Yeah.
I mean, Najeen is incredible.
Yeah.
What do I take away from it? That as humans, we all have a duty to help other humans. You can't just turn a blind eye. I don't think it's enough.
Yeah.
I think we're putting up too many walls. I think we need to break those down.
Yeah.
And I think you could all do a little bit. Everyone watching Facebook tonight who's been inspired by the evening,
Yeah.
we can do our little bit. And also, I'm still kind of shaking from seeing Tony Allen play the drums there. How good was that? It's been a remarkable evening, and I'm really humbled and honoured to be part of it.
Well, you were a fantastic host. Go and have a wonderful drink and enjoy in this moment.
I'm going to.
And we will catch up later.
I'm going to go and get a selfie with
we'll
Tony
catch
Allen.
up later. Absolutely.
Well done, Yvonne.
Thank you so much. And we're going to go this way because we're going to actually try and see if we can get on the stage just as things are wrapping up, so we can at least show our audiences what an incredible night it has been. You can see some of our guests perhaps going away. It's been an awesome evening. It's been wonderful hosting this Facebook Live, and I think Anita touched on the key word there, inspiration. What an inspirational figure Zanna Mustafa is, and this evening has been about drawing public attention to the fact that as individuals and as communities and as organizations, we can actually do a lot to reduce the numbers of people displaced and affected by war and by conflict, by helping to find these sort of local solutions in the very same way that Zanna did. Now, Nansen is not over. It's over for 2017, but it's not over because now the search begins for the winner of the 2018 Nansen Refugee Award. And if you've taken anything away from this evening, it's the fact that you can get involved yourself. You can go to unhcr.org/Nansen to find out more about the award and how you might be able to nominate somebody for the award. You can also follow us on all our social media handles @refugees. You can follow us on Twitter and just keep the conversation and discussion going. I have been your host tonight, Yvonne Dege. It's been a pleasure to host the first ever Nansen Refugee Award live on Facebook. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's just another day, it's just another year. One step at a time, they say. One trip and you're back that way. I don't recognize these